And I heard about this little boy. He was in math class. And then the teacher asked him, said, look, if on Sunday your father gives you $20, and on Monday your father gives you $20, and on Tuesday your father gives you $20, how much money do you have? And the kid said, $0, miss. Let's start again. If on Sunday your father gives you $20, and on Monday your father gives you $20, and on Tuesday your father gives you $20, how much money do you have? The kid said, $0, miss. You know what? You know nothing about math. And the kid said, you know what? You know nothing about my father. I want to talk to you today about sing to the unknown. Sing to the unknown. And yeah, I don't know if you realize, I don't know if you put the two together, that we read today the Shirat Hayam, the song of the Red Sea, because according to the rabbis, today, the seventh day of Pesach, is the actual anniversary when the people of Israel sang this beautiful poem. Do you know that? So today is the anniversary, the seventh day of Pesach. And that makes the seventh day of Pesach something very special, as I mentioned at the beginning of the service. So, if the seventh day of Pesach is the most special day of the holiday, and on the seventh day of Pesach, we read this beautiful song, the Shirat Hayam, the rabbis put the two together and explain that the Shirat Hayam contains the secret, or encapsulates the secrets to the most important message of Pesach. In the same way that we have the seventh day of the week, the Shabbat, the last day of creation, contains the most special message for us to understand the whole act of creation. And when we can understand the spirit of Shabbat, then we can go to the next week in a better shape. So, we just experienced almost all of Pesach. And I know in the diaspora we have an extra day. I don't count that. That is a rabbinic invention, okay? But in the Torah, today is the last day of Pesach. So the better we can understand the message of Shirat Hayam, and the message, by understanding the message of Shirat Hayam, the message of Pesach, the better it is for us to continue with our lives after Pesach is over. So it is interesting because Shirat Hayam was the culmination of the Exodus, the pinnacle of the Exodus. So, in other words, all the slavery, okay, the miracles, the setbacks at the beginning. Remember when Moses came, they had a setback, they have to work extra. And then the plagues came. Some of the plagues were for the Egyptians, some were for the Egyptians and the Israelites. And then the Exodus came. All that was a preparation. And it's almost like, you know, when we go to school, we go to elementary school, we go to high school, that is a preparation stage. And eventually, if you want to know how much you really know, at the end you will have a test. And after the test, of course the teachers will know, but you will also know how much you understood from this preparation period. So this was the same for the Jewish people. They went through all those events as a preparation, and now they are ready for the final test. What was the final test? The Red Sea. And we know that eventually they made it to the other side. So they passed this test. But what was the most important thing that they got from this experience, from the experience of crossing the Red Sea? Well, there are many powerful gems hidden or encapsulated inside the Shirat Hayam. But I will tell you my favorite one. And this comes after we realize, as we read it in the Seder, I explained this to you last week, that we say every year in Pesach, at the very beginning of Pesach, Bechol dor vador. In every generation, we have to experience the exodus from Egypt. We have to get out of Egypt. But sometimes we forget, and we get, we get lost in the details of the Seder, that Egypt in Hebrew is Mitzrayim. And Mitzrayim, yes, of course, could be a reference of the geographic place in the Middle East. But Mitzrayim is something deeper. Mitzrayim, the word Mitzrayim, comes from the word narrow, who could be Yetzer, or could be also Tsar. I don't know if you ever heard the word Tsures. What do you think it's coming from? It's the same root of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim and Tsures, they both have the same root, Tsar. This narrow thing, the thing that is limiting you. So in every generation, we have to leave behind the Mitzrayim. We have to leave behind that what is limiting you. And I realize that most of the time, the main thing that is limiting us in life are fears and worries. Because it's not that we don't have the potential, but we feel, we're afraid that we are not going to make it. We are worried that it's not going to happen. Well, nothing happened yet, but we have so many negative thoughts that eventually something that we were meant to do never come to be a reality, because we remain in Mitzrayim. We remain in this narrow place. It reminds me to a song. Remember, Kol Olam Kulo Gesher Tzar Meot. All this world, Gesher Tzar. You recognize the word Tzar? Narrow bridge. It's the same place. And even that song said, what is the most important to get behind that narrow bridge? Lo lefachet klal. Don't be afraid. Don't be worried. And how do we, once and for all, leave Mitzrayim behind? How can we leave behind and get away from fears and worries? Well, let's go back to Shirat Hayam. Because this is when finally, after all these years of slavery, after all these tests in Egypt, after all the setbacks and the miracles and everything that happened there, finally, after they crossed the Red Sea, the Israelites got it. And hopefully we can get it too. They were able to do something to leave Mitzrayim behind. And that was, and is expressed in the words of the Shirat Hayam, right before they start singing, where it said, Vayaminu Badonai uve Moshe Avdo. What does it mean, Vayaminu Badonai? Well, if you read the translation, there are many different translations for that. Vayaminu. It said they trusted, they believed in God, and something like that. But I don't know if you realize that Vayaminu technically means they had faith. Faith in God. You know how you say faith in Hebrew? Emunah. Vayaminu. Emunah. They had emunah in God. Finally, after all these years, we have something new that allowed them to leave Mitzrayim behind. They developed emunah. They developed faith in God. And because they developed faith in God, they were able to sing. Think about this. Think about this. I don't know if you ever considered this, about this, the Shirat Hayam, the song of the Red Sea. They sang and they praised the name of God because God defeated the Egyptian army. But was that a reason to celebrate? Yes, on one side, they defeated the Egyptian army. But they turned around. What was it on the other side? The desert, the unknown. They didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow. So how were they able to celebrate today if tomorrow was full of uncertainty because they have faith, because they develop emunah, because they believe in God, and they finally got it, that everything that happens didn't happen to them, it happened for them. And everything that is going to happen tomorrow, it won't happen to you, it's going to happen for you. So if you believe, if you reach a point in your life that you can understand that everything in this world is coming from God, if you can reach that level, then there is no space for fears or worries. Because you realize that everything that comes into your life is for your own good, even if you don't understand how that happened. Because let me tell you something. Emunah, faith. What is the opposite of faith? Open question. What is the opposite of faith? Certainty. The opposite of faith is certainty. If you know what is going to happen tomorrow, you don't need faith. You don't need emunah. Emunah is the energy that allows you to sing into the unknown, to celebrate to that victory, because you know that in the same way that God was with you today, God is going to be with you tomorrow, even if you don't know right now what that tomorrow is going to look like. So this is the secret encapsulated in the Shirat Hayam. This is why they were able to sing after all these years of slavery, because they understood this principle. And this is the message for all of us to understand on the last day of Pesach, as we are ready to move into the rest of the year. We have to understand on the 7th day of Pesach that we can also sing into the unknown if we can have faith, emunah, in God. So this is the invitation for this last day of Pesach. Leave behind Mitzrayim. Leave behind these tzuras by embracing a life of faith and spirituality. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.